Hi everyone, it's Bethany, and in this tutorial I'm super excited because we are going to be using Printable HTV, and I'm really excited to do a garden flag with this. So we are going to be using HTV that you can feed through your printer and put a design on, and this is going to resemble the process of print and cut. So if you have done printable vinyl, then it's going to be very similar, but when you go to apply it, then you're going to be using a heat source, and then you can place it on fabric. So we are going to be using a really neat gardening flag today, and I'm super excited because I've been really looking forward to this project, and I really can't wait to see how it all turns out. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be placing a design with the printable vinyl. We're going to be doing a floral wreath, and then we're also going to be using some iron-on. So this is Siser Easyweed HTV. We're going to be using that to say welcome in the middle of the wreath. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this turns out because I've been really anxious to start with the Printable HTV. So I did purchase my sheets from Expressions Vinyl, and when you purchase your sheets from them, it comes with a list of instructions, so a little how to use the Printable HTV. So I'm going to be following this strictly today because this is my first time doing it, and we're just going to go right down the list and do it together. So it does say some information on how to use it with your heat press. It does recommend that you are doing a heat press, but it does have iron instructions as well. So we're just going to follow this, and then we are also going to be using some parchment paper. And it calls for parchment paper when we go to place the Printable HTV down and start pressing. So I just want to mention we're going to be using that today. We're going to have a weeding tool and scissors handy. We're going to measure our little gardening flag with the measuring tape, Printable HTV obviously, and then we are going to also use this Siser Easyweed gray. And I have my heat mat out. We're also going to use the largest of the easy presses, so I have that ready to go. Okay, so when you buy this, it comes in sheets, so I just wanted to mention what that looks like, and these are going to go through your printer. Before you print, so you're going to print on the white side. Now, before you print, you need to make sure you know how to feed your printer, and that's not something that I can do for you. So what I'd recommend is you put a blank sheet of paper through your printer with an X on one side and determine if you need to load your paper or this, face up or face down to have it printed on the right side. So make sure you take that step. That way you don't print it on the wrong side and then, have a mess on your Printable HTV. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this really quick, and I'm going to focus on the length right here. So we are at about 12 1/4, and we're about, I'm just measuring from this little pocket down, and we're at about 16 1/2. Okay, so I'll try my best to link where I got this. You're just going to need a blank gardening flag, and I bought this a while ago, so I'll try to remember and find where I purchased this and link it down below. And everything else that I used today, the Printable HTV and the regular HTV, I will put everything in the description box in case you want to recreate this look yourself. Then you will be able to get all of the necessary supplies. Okay, so I'm super excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I have some butterflies in my tummy, but I am going to say a quick prayer and we are going to get started. Okay, let's go to Design Space and get our design all ready to go. I am using a really cool floral design that you guys have seen before when I decorated my Explorer AR2. So if you were wanting to explore or design your Explorer 2 with these really pretty floral decals, then I'm using the same file because it came with a lot of different styles of florals in there. So I'm going to use that, and that'll be really fun. Also, you can do this project on the Maker, or you can do this on the Explorer 2, which we'll be using today. You cannot do this on the Joy. So you can do a project with regular heat transfer vinyl, but you cannot do printable vinyl with the Joy. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so this is the design that I am going for today, and I'm super excited. I think it's really, really pretty. So what I did is I'll recreate this for you so you can see how I did this, and I'll make it a little bit bigger here. So what I did was I went to my uploads, and if you need help knowing how to upload an image into Cricut Design Space, I will place a tutorial up in the right-hand corner so you know how to upload images. So I am going to use this file right here, and I went ahead and insert my images. And then what I'm going to do once it gets loaded here, it takes just a second because it is a little bit of a larger file. So let me make this smaller. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to detach the two vines from each other. So it's all one layer right now, and I'm going to separate them so they're separate. And the reason is because together when they're attached, it's too big of a image to feed on the printable HTV. So I'm going to just detach them and print them out separately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, let me go ahead and just make this like that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go over to the shapes box and grab a square, and then I'm going to pull that over, and I'm going to use the slice tool. So when doing that, you're going to cover the area you want to remove, which is either the top or bottom in this case. Highlight both of them, and then come over here to hit slice. And then you can go ahead and delete the images that you're not going to need. So we're going to delete this, and we are left with now two pieces. So that's perfect. So then from there, I just sized it up accordingly. And then for the middle, what I did was I used a font called Knickerbocker. So you'll see the font. Let me try to find it here. Let's see. So it's right here. It's a Cricut Access font. So this is the font that I used. So I am going to be cutting that on the HTV, the regular HTV, and I'm going to have that be that nice gray color. So I think that's going to look really nice. Okay, I'm going to delete this because this was just for demonstration, but this is my final. I want to mention that my pieces are 9.147 by 4.431 in size, and they are both, they should be roughly the same, if not, but close. Okay, so I have those all set up, and when I was sizing them, what I did was I just grabbed both of them and I dragged in and out. So they are a tad bit different of an image, so they might be just a little bit different in size, but visually they look great, so they're going to be ready to go. Okay, so again, you can do this on the Explorer. You can also do this on the Maker, but you cannot do this on the Joy with the Printable HTV. Let's see, that can be deleted, and now we have our Explorer selected. We can go ahead and click Make It. Okay, so now it has it separated on the mats for us. So for the Printable HTV, you do not need to mirror it. It says on the directions you do not need to mirror it. So these are great. They're going to go through separately. One thing it does say, and it's really important to mention, is that you are not going to feed multiple sheets of Printable HTV through your printer at one time. You need to send them through individually. So that's just fine, because what we're going to do is we are going to print this. We are then going to cut it, and then we'll come back and print the second one, and then we will cut it. So we're going to have some steps in between the printing. We are going to be using the iron-on for this, or the HTV. Those terms are used interchangeably, so if you hear iron-on or you hear HTV, it's the same thing. So you do need to mirror that. So we're going to go ahead and mirror this one, and then we can go back and click our first one and click Continue. Okay, so now our air is selected, and we are then going to click Send to Printer. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to select the printer that we're using. I use my HP OfficeJet Pro 9010 series printer. I really like it. It works great. It does say to have your printer set on normal paper, so you'll have to determine how to do that with your own individual printer. And then I make sure the bleed is turned on. It just adds a little bit of extra ink to the sides of your design, so it kind of acts as a buffer to give you just a little bit more than you need, so that once it goes to cut, it
will do a really clean cut. So I'm going to go ahead and load my printable HTV into my printer and we'll get to printing. One thing I would recommend is that you print this out first on regular printer paper. That way, when you go to print, you can test it on a regular piece of paper and make sure the size is right and the color's right and everything's printing right before you do it on your printable HTV. So I would take that step first. I've already done that and it looks great. It looks great on the inside in terms of size, and now we're going to do it on the printable HTV.
Okay, so it came off the printer. This is the first one. Look how neat that looks. It looks really pretty. I'm super excited. So now before I go to print the second one, what we're going to do is we are going to get this loaded on a mat and send it through the Explorer Air 2 so that we can get it all cut out. So those settings are already in there, it knows that we have just printed it, so now it needs to cut before we go and do a different image printed out. So we want to go ahead and complete that first step first. So now I'm going to let this dry. It says to let it dry for 5 minutes before pressing it. I'm just going to go ahead and let it dry for 5 minutes before cutting it. So I'm just going to take that step a little bit early. And then we're going to go ahead and get it cut out. So I'm just going to give myself 5 minutes and then we'll put it on the mat. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place my printable HTV on my mat. And this is now going to go through my machine to cut out around my design. So this is going to be really awesome. So making sure I get this as straight as I can on there. I think I got it a little bit crooked. And then what you want to do is make sure that your machine is calibrated before you do any print then cut projects. So if you need help knowing how to do that, it's so easy, and I'll put a tutorial up in the corner for you guys right up here, and you guys can go ahead and calibrate your machine. You also want to make sure that you take this off of the printer and place it on your mat. So don't do anything in between. You're going to, of course, I let it dry for 5 minutes just as a precaution, but you don't want to do any cutting. So make sure that all of the boxes are on there, or the boxes on there. This rectangle, these are registration marks, and this is how your Cricut is going to read the image and know where to locate and cut the image within the box. So make sure that that stays on there. Okay, so now we can go ahead and open up our machine, and then we are going to go ahead and place the mat inside. So what I did is I used the setting. I have my dial set to custom, and then I have my setting on printable iron-on light. So that is in the iron-on section when you're finding the material settings. So I'm going to go ahead and load it, and then we'll go ahead and cut it. Okay. So far, so good. I'm so excited. This is going to be really pretty. Oh, also, this is what I meant about printing it out on paper first. So I printed this on paper. That way I could take my gardening flag and I could place it on my flag and make sure that I liked the size of it. So that's what I meant by doing that. So this is just regular printer paper. Again, if I printed this out and didn't like how it looked, if I didn't like the size of it, then I really didn't waste anything because I only printed it on paper and I didn't print it on my HTV, so I could go back in and size it up or down accordingly. Okay, so it's already done cutting, and I'm going to go ahead and unload my machine. It looks wonderful. I love it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip this over and just remove the printable vinyl, or printable HTV from the mat. And then what we're going to do is, oh, it looks awesome. I cut it really nice. And you guys will see in a moment what the bleed feature did when I get this weeded. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the second one. So in Cricut Design Space, it's already dropped down to the second floral piece. So we're going to go ahead and place our printable HTV back into our printer. Again, you do not want to place more than one at one time, and it does say that specifically on the directions. You want to place it through one at a time, because it might, I guess it clings to one another and then it might not feed. One thing I found helpful is if you look at it, it comes rolled up, so some of the corners are kind of rolled and bent at the side. So I took it the opposite way and rolled it. That way it could kind of really flatten out before sending it to my print, or placing it in my printer. That way my printer grabbed it just flawlessly. So I just kind of held it there for just a second just to make sure I kind of rebent it in the right way, and then now it lays perfectly flat. So I would just maybe recommend taking that step if yours is really rolled up from shipping. Okay, so I'm going to go print this by selecting send to printer, and we'll get this one printed and cut out as well. Okay, so the second one printed, it looks perfect. Again, I'm just gonna let that dry for 5 minutes, make sure everything's all ready to go. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start weeding this one. So you're just gonna weed it like you would normally. So weeding is just removing any part of the image that you do not want. Let me go ahead and zoom in real quick so you can really see this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go to a corner here and just lightly peel up. I just kind of pierce the corner to get between the layers, and then I'm just peeling slowly away the background. Okay, it looks really nice. That cut setting was perfect. So again, I had my dial set to custom. Then I went into the iron-on section and selected I selected printable iron-on light. Okay. Perfect. So now we're left. Now here is the bleed. So if you can see on here, there's still some ink around the corners. Let me see if I can get that on a white. See the ink that's still on there? So what it does is it adds a little bit more than it needs around the edges, and it gives a little buffer. That way when it goes to cut, it cuts between the extra ink and where the cut line is, and then it gets you a clean cut every time. So I think I have a couple little middle pieces that need to come out, just like this, and right here. But I think, let me look closely. I think that's it. Yep. Okay. So that one is all done. So now the thing about this is we are just going to, and we'll get to it, but we're just going to peel this up and place it right on our flag. So you want to pick a design that does not have a million little pieces, because you want something that you can easily pick up. And this is still even going to be a challenge because we have a couple small little pieces and these vines are small, but the good thing about it is it's not sticky on the back, so it's not going to like cling, you know, to the fabric. We can kind of get it laid and placed. So you want to make sure that, you know, you pick a design that's not quite, it doesn't have a zillion little pieces, or you're just going to be sitting there placing it all. Okay, so the first one's cut and weeded. The second one is just cut, so that looks perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Now what I did is I actually went back into Design Space and I sized up my welcome letters quite a bit, very generously. I just felt like things were looking a little too small, so I went and sized them up so they were about 9 inches in length. And instead of having you'll see in a minute, but it's just going to look a tad different than my original design. The only thing I did was just change the size of the letters to make them a lot bigger. I just think they were looking a little too small. So I changed that because it was bothering me, and now we can get it cut out. So when you're working with iron-on, you're going to make sure that the shiny side is face down. This is Siser Easyweed, and I'll link it below. It's my favorite. It's amazing. So make sure the shiny side is face down. It's a little hard to tell on camera, but you will in person obviously see a dull side and a shiny side. So you'll get that shiny side placed face down on the mat. Let me get it just loaded just right here. Okay, perfect. And I'm just going to keep that roll just like that. It's just fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and load it into my machine. So for Siser Easyweed, I just go to Everyday Iron-On as my setting, and again, my dial is just on custom. The reason I keep mine on custom is because I switch back from my Maker and my Joy and my Explorer or two. So it's easy for me because I'm already used to going into Design Space to make my material selections. So I just set this on custom because it just keeps everything consistent. But if you prefer doing dial settings, then go ahead and do that. So again, everyday iron-on is the setting that I like for Siser Easyweed. I think it works really, really well. And again, that image is mirrored for the iron-on. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay, so I'm going to really quickly get this weeded out, and it's just the same process, so I'm not going to zoom in on this one just because I'm going to go really quick. And then we're going to get our Easy Press all preheated. That little guy wanted to come up. Okay, and we will start pressing. So we have two different pressing temperatures we're going to be using today, so we're going to have to let our machine cool in between, which is just fine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get our Easy Press preheated here. And so I'm looking at the directions, and it says 374. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. I'm going to click the temperature button, and then I'm going to bump this up to 374, so 375. And then it says we are going to press it with light pressure for 12 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and make this set to 15 seconds, and then we'll just know to pull it up just a tad early. So that is going to start preheating. And again, it does recommend that you do it with the heat press, but it also does have iron instructions if you want to do that as well. Just remember this, it seems like a lot of information, but they give you the directions, and don't be afraid just to read line by line. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm going to unload my iron-on, and I'm going to, oh, I'm really, really glad, you guys, that I sized this up. I think it's going to look a lot better. It was just looking really small to me. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Just take it off this way. Okay, so I'm just going to weed out the welcome really quick. Again, just removing any part of the image that I do not want. This is a really pretty gray. I think it's going to look really nice with the little flower pieces. I was all ready to do this project. I'd been waiting for the gardening flag. Well, I had already had the gardening flag, I suppose, but I was waiting for the Printable HTV, and then I realized I didn't have the right color of iron-on that I wanted. So I had to order this really quick from Amazon, and we are so lucky with how quickly they are doing things, because now we're just right back to crafting again. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through and get any of the middles that I missed. One right here. And this has a sticky backing on it, which I love, because once you go to place it on your material, it really just stays put where you place it, and it makes it easy to straighten and everything. So, okay. I actually might grab my heat transfer, or my heat resistant tape, actually. Let me grab some of that. I think that might come in handy when putting the floral designs down, since this does not have a sticky, well, no, you can't do that. Never mind. Totally never mind. You can't put the tape on the, this is very different, putting this on, because it's going to go on kind of like a sticker. There's no transfer material, no transfer tape or anything. Okay, cleaning up my space here. Okay, so once we turn this around, you will see now it is in the right direction because we mirrored it. So now we're going to lay it down this way on our fabric. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear my space. I'm going to remove my mat from my workspace because I like to have just a bare surface under my heat press mat. It does tend to get a little warm, so I don't like having my nice floral mat underneath. Okay, so it's all preheated, and what I'm going to do is I just have my gardening flag right here on my heat mat, and I'm going to preheat my material. So this is going to remove any of the wrinkles, and then it also says it kind of opens up the fibers for the Printable HTV. So I'm just going to do about 5 seconds, and then kind of bring that up and do the rest as well. Okay, so now it's all pressed. Looks really nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to get this all set where I want it. Oh, that looks so much better, I think. Okay, so instead of having it be like a circle wreath with the words inside, I'm going to do bigger words and then have just kind of borders along the side. So with the Printable HTV, you're now going to remove the image from this grid line backing or backer sheet. So you're going to just peel it up really carefully. Again, this has a little bit more of delicate pieces, but it doesn't have it's not sticky on the back, so you don't have to worry about it, you know, sticking to anything like you would with the printable vinyl. So if you guys remember me trying to unstick all of that with the, oh my gosh, that was so fun. I'll link that tutorial. It was really fun doing the decals for this. Okay, so I'm just gonna take my time. I might start over here. I'm gonna take my time and just kind of start removing the little pieces. And let me zoom in so you guys can really see what I'm doing. Okay, so of course I picked a complicated design, which is fine. It'll all work out. But I'm just gonna kind of start removing those pieces. This big middle part is gonna come off really easily. I have it upside down just so I can kind of control the pieces as they come off. Okay. There we go. And I'm just grabbing it with my fingers like you would a sticker. And allowing those pieces just to kind of fall and dangle. So this is a good example of why you want to pick something that doesn't have, you know, a million little pieces. You want to pick an image that is all connected, because you're going to have zero help with like transfer tape or anything getting it off. So it's coming off though. Okay. I'm just being gentle because it's delicate. Don't want to rip anything. Okay. So now I'm going to place it on my flag here. And remember, it's not sticky, so what you can do is grab your weeding tool and just kind of get everything placed where it goes. And you can refer to the original design, so you can open up Design Space and have this, you know, opened up so you can see where all these little pieces go. And yes, this is tedious, but sometimes crafting is, right? Okay. There we go. I'm getting it all placed down there. And I'm just grabbing my weeding tool to just slightly grab those little areas. Okay, it's looking good. Okay. These little pieces are kind of rolling, so I'm just gonna kind of get them where I need them to be, and then just kind of set them there for a minute. Okay. I think this piece, there we go. So the less small little dangly pieces, the better. Okay, so I have that where I want it. I'm just placing my weeding tool here to keep those little pieces down. The other side is laying down really nice. I think I might have curled it a little bit when I was peeling this other side, but it's going to be just fine. So now I'm going to grab my parchment paper. Okay, so now we're going to place the parchment paper over, and so I'm just going to place it right over, and then I'm going to remove my weeding tool. There we go. So now it kind of holds all those pieces on there. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our heat press. It says we are going to press for 12 seconds with high pressure. So I'm going to actually stand, and I'm going to bring this right there. Okay, so I have my parchment paper over my design, and you can see through the parchment paper so that everything is laid down where it needs to be. Okay, so now that I have everything where I want it, I'm going to grab my heat press. Make sure those don't roll up. Okay, and I'm going to put it right down on top. And I'm going to press the Cricut button, and I'm going to put some muscle into it. Okay. I'm so nervous. It's going to look good though, right? Okay, and now I'm going to just push it, or pull it up. And it does say to wait. Let's see, let me look at my directions. It says to wait a minute, I think. Wait 1 minute for the transfer to cool before removing the parchment paper. So we have to be patient for a minute. So don't move anything. Just everything's going to stay just like this. We're going to wait, and then we'll take the parchment paper off. Okay, so it's been a minute. So now I'm just going to peel off my, oh, looks good. Peel off my parchment paper, and I'm just going to really look at that. It's on. And I want to say it's a little brighter. What do you guys think? I think it's more vibrant. Oh my goodness. I am now going to be obsessed with it. Oh, it looks really good. Okay, sorry. I am sorry for the squeals, but I have been so nervous for this project, and it's so exciting. Okay, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and then we will get to doing the second one, and then we'll do the welcome. Okay, so again, I'm just removing, and I'm finding it easiest just to kind of do it upside down, just so those pieces can just kind of fall. And again, if you're just starting with doing this, a design that's a little bit simpler will definitely be a little bit more beginner friendly. So definitely just keep your design in mind. I was honestly just kind of ready for a challenge though, so I thought this would be super, and plus you guys know I just love florals. It's just so fun. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down quite a bit, and again, using my weeding tool just to get everything kind of placed on there. I think this file is so pretty. I'll link this below so you guys know. I got it from Font Bundles. No, Design Bundles. Sorry, I get those mixed up. Design Bundles. And it came with a lot of different arrangements, is how I should say it. So I had already invested in this for my Explore machine, because that's how I made my decals. So I thought I might as well get another couple projects out of this. Okay. Ooh, that one was even better than the first one. I didn't have as much rolling. So I did go ahead and grab a new piece of parchment paper. The other one looked clean. I didn't see any residue or anything from ink or anything like that. But I just wanted to be safe. So I went ahead and grabbed a fresh sheet. So I'm going to still drag this over a little bit more. There we go. Looks good to me, I think. Just fiddling with it a little bit more to make sure it's exactly where I want it. And I can even bring my welcome in. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. I love it. Okay. Just so I can kind of visually see how things are lining up. Okay. I need to pull this away just a little bit. That definitely brightened up. These are definitely more green than yellow. They were kind of printed a little bit more on the yellow side, and now they're more vibrant green. Okay. Okay, so I have everything where I want it. That looks awesome. Okay, so I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to pull this up so it's more in the middle. That way the heat plate gets a really even press. And then I'm going to take my new piece of parchment paper. Make sure everything is flat. Okay, that's great. And again, you can really see through that parchment paper, so even once you get it on there, you can kind of make sure that you like where everything is. And again, 12 seconds with firm pressure. and click the button. Now parchment paper is a little slippery, so your press may want to slide, so try to get it to stay put as much as you can. And I'm putting some muscle into that. Okay. And then again, you're going to wait 1 minute before doing anything. So it says don't even peel up the parchment paper. You want to wait an entire minute, and then you can peel up the parchment paper. Okay, so while that is cooling, we're taking that minute, we are going to cool down our press for the Siser Easyweed. So I'm going to go down to the temperature, and I'm going to just put that down to 305. And we'll let that cool down for a bit, and then we're going to press that for 10 to 15 seconds. And then we'll get that going. Okay, so it's been a minute, so we will go ahead and just peel up our parchment paper. And it's clean on the back. Look at that. Oh my gosh, this is really, really cool. And it is really down. Looks great. I love it. I am going to be running to the website to buy more of this because I have now just been completely inspired. Can you imagine? One of the things I really like about print then cut projects is that, and now we're just waiting for this to cool down a little bit, but one thing I love about print then cut is that it's pretty cost effective with all the colors, because you're going to print a bunch of colors on this and you can get really, really detailed designs. So if you were going to try to do this with regular HTV, just regular adhesive HTV, you would be using, you know, let's see, at least 3 or 4 different colors of HTV, which does get expensive. So this is really exciting. This is really opening up a world of opportunity for some projects. This is really fun. So I bought 3. I bought 3 sheets just to kind of get me started and get my, you know, feet wet a little bit with this, and I am totally going to buy a ton more of this. This was really fun and very easy to use in my opinion. Again, it does seem like a lot when trying something new, but just use the directions and just go step by step and take your time. That's what I did, and I just kept looking and rereading, and it just worked flawlessly. So I am really happy with how this is turning out. Okay, so we are gonna wait just a little bit longer. It's about 350 now, so we're gonna make sure it gets down to that 305, and then we can go ahead and press our welcome. So in the meantime, we can get this all placed where we want it. Make sure we have it all centered. I can't wait to hang this up today. And it's nice weather, so the flowers are all blooming. I planted a garden, you guys. I did. I have mint and, what do I have? I have mint and cilantro and basil and, oh, so much good. Let me know if you guys have done any gardening or if you've planted your flowers yet. This is at 1 1/4. This is at 1 1/4. And up and down, I think it looks perfect, so I'm not going to fuss with it. So I'm going to actually place the parchment paper right back over, and it's clean, so I am going to just go ahead and reuse it. Looks great. So I'm going to place it over everything. That way it protects the printable HTV. It gets all of this protected while I put the heat source back on. And we're just waiting for that to cool down, and we'll put this last little piece on. Okay, so went ahead and it is at the 305, so now we can go ahead and press it. So I'm just going to grab that and place it down and let that count down. Okay, I think my yard and my little garden area is looking a lot cuter. I can't wait to put this in there today. This is going to be really, really fun. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the parchment paper, and this is still a little bit warm, but it does say it's a warm or cool peel, so I can go ahead and just peel at an angle, removing the carrier sheet, and it's all done. Oh my goodness, you guys. I'm really happy with this. I'm so proud of myself. This was making me so nervous, and I was thinking and rethinking how I was going to do this, and I am so happy with how this turned out. So how fun. This is going to be a wonderful new product. I think this is just gonna really open up all of the crafts that I can do. I think it'll be really fun. And plus, garden flags are wonderful gifts for friends. You can make them, you can personalize them. Originally, actually, instead of welcome, I was gonna do our family initial, our family name on here, but then I decided the welcome would be really, really fun too. So there's so many ways to personalize this. And then for the holidays, can you imagine? There's just so many fun little things and projects. I'm really excited. I'm a little jumbly right now because I'm speechless. This turned out even better than I thought it would. I'm really happy I sized this up though. I think it would have been way too small at my original size. So again, I did go back into Design Space to size up those words and then have these, act as a little bit more of a scallop than a wreath. I'm really happy with how that looks. That looks amazing. So I'm really proud of this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that this has helped give you a little bit of confidence to try Printable HTV because you guys, this was fun and this is really going to open up a lot of really good learning opportunities and a lot of crafts that we can do. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up if you think this just turned out beautiful. I certainly did. I will be sure to link everything below in case you want to recreate this look. Please be sure to let me know if you've done a gardening flag before or if you've done Printable HTV before because I'd love to hear what you guys have done with it. I am going to sign off and go make a list of a ton of things that I want to do now because there have been some designs I've wanted to play around with, but I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do them. But now Printable HTV has definitely been the solution. That's how I'm going to create some of those projects. So I'm really excited to bring more of this to the channel. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please be sure to subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you all in the next video.